Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another Shoe Snob video series. Here we are with a new podcast. It's been a long time and I'm sorry, but it's busy. Busy these days doing lots of things, and sometimes podcasts I have to think of an interesting subject and I forget about what I wanted to talk about, and then life just happens and I forget to do it. But I was hit with an email yesterday that reminded me of a subject I've been wanting to talk about for the longest time and write about. And that is the idea of comfort. What is comfort in shoes? Now, most of us, I feel like in America, are led to believe that comfort is in cushion. We're led to believe this by mass marketing, by the garbage shoes that you find at the department stores, the salesmen who will say anything to make their commission, the salesmen of those brands that come in and grossly miseducate the salesmen on why their cheap shoes made with polyurethane soles are the end-all be-all when it comes to comfort and support and all this malarkey. And this cycle continues to happen, and we continue to be fooled by the idea that cushion gives you comfort. Now, I won't lie and say there is not comfort in cushion, because of course there is. Nike wouldn't be Nike if there wasn't. But in my education, in my mind, through years of experience and learning the harder ways, the fact is that cushion is not the comfort that our body needs. And so then I like to switch the word comfort, which I think is an idea, in reality, and switch that to the word that I think is more appropriate, which is support. So again, the idea of comfort and whether that is cushion versus support. What is what we need? What is what feels best? Now, again, I think the problem is cushion gives you a short-term gain, but a long-term sacrifice, whereas support might give you a long-term gain, but in the beginning a short-term sacrifice. And I say that because support at the end of the day is how well a last, so to speak, or a shoe, a last, whatever, fits your foot in the areas that it needs to fit in order to support this body you have on top of your feet. Now, in order to support it properly, and I believe I learned this from the insole salesman over at Superfeet years ago, although I don't agree with using orthotics in dress shoes. I just think that's another marketing tactic. But when the insole has its curvature that aligns well with your arch, that is where your foot naturally lays, and that part basically aligns your body and supports your upper frame with all this weight and gravity we're putting down onto our feet. Now, cushion will make you feel like you're supported, but in reality, if there's no arch support in there, your body's not properly aligned and not properly supported. You feel good because you have this kind of soft cushion-like materials separating you from the hard ground, and it feels nice. But at the end of a long day, your feet very well could be and should be tired because you didn't have the actual support you need to withstand your weight all day long standing on your feet. So what prompted this was somebody wrote me an email asking me, can you recommend a brand that I can stand 12 hours a day in. And I started to think about that. And straight away, anybody else probably would have been listing all these brands that have, Nike style soles, cushioned soles. But I don't agree with that logic. I don't find that is truly where comfort is. I grew up selling Echoes, Merrells, Asics, all these comfort brands, right? But then when wearing them, at the end of the day, because they all have flat, virtually no arch support, your feet are tired, your feet hurt. And I used to work 12-hour days on my feet. I wore the Echoes. They killed my feet. They felt nice and cushy, but at the end of the day, my feet were screaming because it wasn't supported at all. And it wasn't until I ditched the Brandt device measurement, and it wasn't until I half-sized down and I started wearing shoes that actually supported my feet, hugged my feet, gripped my arch, gave me a nice comfortable feeling underneath my foot of like, this shoe has me. Because the problem is when you're wearing shoes a little too loosey-goosey, they have no arch support, your foot is overcorrecting inside that shoe and you're overworking your arch. So it doesn't matter how much cushion, whatever that shoe has, if it doesn't have the proper support for your feet are not going to be comfortable at the end of a long day, standing, walking, whatever. If you sit all day, doesn't really matter. And you're only walking from, short distance A to B, great, wear anything you want. But when you are on your feet 10 to 12 hours a day, these things do matter, because that's a lot of subjecting your feet to your entire body weight all day long, and it needs to be properly supported. So now, I don't think that cushion is bad, so to speak. Of course, how can it be? It's soft. But I think the best shoe is one that combines both ideas. So you have a last that fits you well and maybe a shock absorbing style sole. For example, on the back of my wall, you'll see these shoes with some commando soles. Actually, let me just grab one. Now, I never liked the idea of a commando sole way back when, but that's because commando soles were in their infancy. Now they're becoming popular, and you have new styles of them, and smaller ones and thicker ones and heavier ones, and ones in this kind of rubber and that kind of rubber. Back in the day, they were commanded by Vibram. Now I find Vibram to be horrifically stiff and unwaveringly rigid, and I don't find them comfortable at all. Sure, they're great for certain activities, but to be on your feet all day, you get tired, because rubber doesn't break in like leather. It's not a natural product. It remains. That's why it's durable. It remains. But that lack of pliability, that rigidity, doesn't help your foot. So at the end of the day, when you wear a hard rubber sole, I find a hard rubber sole more uncomfortable than a double leather sole in reality. But when I discovered this commando sole that my factory had on offer, that I thought was nice because it allowed for a trim cut along the sole there, and it had a nice cushioned rubber, so to speak. And I paired that with a last that fits me. Obviously, the shoes that I make fit me well. It's goes without saying. And I combined a last that fits with a cushioned sole, then that provides me ultimate comfort. So I can wear this shoe with a single leather sole all day long, just fine. Sure, my feet will be a little bit tired at the end of the day because, it's leather. Leather's kind of hard when it's hard leather. And if you're on a hard floor, you feel it. If it was on carpet all day, it might be a different thing. But if I wear the commando sole on the same shoe, it is slightly more comfortable at the end of the day, because I had a little bit more shock absorption on my knees, on my feet, on my everything, and I have kind of sensitive feet on the bottom. So And so that was the issue where I couldn't really answer this guy's question, because there's no one brand that makes one shoe more comfortable than the other, in my opinion. It's all about finding a last that works for you. For example, in Carmina, the Simpson last fits me wonderfully because I have these long, slender feet, but the Rain last doesn't fit me great. And so I can't say, oh, Carmina is a great brand for fitting all day long comfortable, because it's really just the one last that I have experience with. But I can't say, oh, it's not a great brand for fitting all day long as well either, because the Rain last doesn't fit me great. But that's just one last. So again, you can't, it's hard to suggest a brand. It's more about finding the last that fits your foot. And then, if you can made to order that last, if you can add a commando sole, a rubber sole, a City Light sole, a double leather sole, or whatever that you find supports you best. I actually really love how double leather soles feel. I think they feel really great. I find them highly supportive, and I find them quite comfortable. So again, all of this in reality is somewhat subjective, but I do firmly believe that comfort at the end of the day is more defined by support than it is cushion, at least for our body's sake. Now, these are probably things you don't realize after years of subjecting your body to said traumas. So, you may not discover something until later. Again, what prompted me to really understand all of this was the fact that I started getting plantar fasciitis because I was overworking my arch. This was more a fit thing, that I was wearing an 8 instead of a 7.5, because really I'm an 8 narrow, but my arch measures like a 9. And anybody who sells you arch insoles will say, oh, but you got to fit your arch. And yeah, you got to fit your arch. But at the same time, for me, the Branix is not giving you the real accurate information. Fitting your arches, trying shoes on and seeing which one cups that arch and feels and supports your foot. Not just going off a number that a device shows you that, there's nothing in this world that is a one thing fits all people. So a half size down, I stopped overworking my arch. And it didn't matter if that shoe was cushioned or not. If I was wearing the wrong size, you're overworking your arch. And at the end of the day, overworking your arch over time creates problems, and it creates plantar fasciitis. So I got rid of all my large shoes, a half size down, and now I can fit comfortably in a leather sole shoe all day long. And it's funny because I used to remember when I was not educated on these types of things, I remember selling Allen Edmonds and then looking at the lack of a sock liner, which is just the natural insole, and thinking, oh my God, how could anybody wear that? It looks so uncomfortable, so rigid, so blah, blah, blah. And because in my mind, cushion was comfort. But until I educated myself and started trying these shoes, of course, it comes with some painful break-in periods that if you're not used to, if you're used to wearing pancake bendy Blake shoes and Nikes and sneakers and all of that stuff that's really pliable, and then you go to a welted shoe with no sock liner, no cushion anywhere, stiff leather, it's kind of scary, it's frightening. But after you get used to it, you break it in, you start feeling the support, you start realizing that, wow, those things are actually more comfortable than all that other stuff you thought was comfortable just because it gave you flexibility and cushion. And so again, maybe all you guys wear welted shoes and I'm just, speaking to the choir, but if you've never reached that realm and you're always looking for cushion to supply you comfort, try to flip this and start looking for support to supply you comfort. Because I'm a firm believer, because I've experienced it firsthand, and I think many others have too, that once you find a last that truly supports your foot, you feel great. you feel so much better. When you don't have feet problems, you feel great. At the end of the day, okay, we're all a little tired if we're on our feet all day. There's no shoe in the world that's gonna make you feel like you just woke up if you stood on your feet for the last 8 to 10 hours. It's not the case. But the one that allows you to have the least amount of discomfort is, the aim here. So, but I firmly believe that is more about proper fit and true support in your arch, as opposed to looking for a cushioned sole, a cushioned insole, a mesh shoe, a this, a that, and a this that is given all this comfort that we love to, have, especially in America. I feel like in Europe they may be trained differently. When I lived there, I saw a lot more people wearing leather-soled shoes. But over here, we are trained in the idea of cushion is comfort. That's why the biggest brands, the Cole Haan, the Nike, which is really the same brand, and all these new brands that sell you on cushion soles and comfort and blah, 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 with the polyurethane and all this technological EVA, sold this, sold that, why it sells well, because it's what we're embedding into the brains through mass marketing. Because at the end of the day, nobody makes money on selling you the reality that you don't need any of that, and you just need a solid shoe that fits you well. Can have any sole that it wants. They can't get you to buy their comfortable stuff if they're not tricking you to believing it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. So go figure. And us, being the gullible people we are, just fall for it, not realizing we don't need any of that. We just need a shoe that fits our foot well in the supporting nature. And once you find that, your feet are golden. So anyway, try to think differently. If you're being told by massive companies this, and this, and that, you should probably believe the opposite, because their goal is not to really give you that, it's to sell you a product. So again, the whole why do people in America wear orthotics? Some marketing product to be sold to get you to buy another thing. That's again what I learned at Nordstrom. When we were trying to sell multiple shoes, we were also trying to sell you multiple add-ons. Super feet, nice old $30 add-on. I don't know what they are now, probably 50 add-ons, getting you add-ons. That's all it is. So many people in Europe, and I think the rest of the world, hardly wear orthotics. Cedar shoe trees is another one. Cedar shoe trees aren't the end-all be-all. It's because in America we have tons of cedar trees. They don't have them all over the world. They're selling lime and beechwood. It's all the same. So when something seems too good to be true because everybody's saying it, often it's just to sell you something. Try to think outside the box and go down the path, maybe not being spread everywhere. And in my opinion, that opened my eyes to the world of what I feel is real comfort, is a supportive shoe. That can be a single leather soled dress shoe. If it fits you like a glove, you're gonna feel great all day long. Granted, all day to a degree. Anyway, I'll try to come up with more podcast ideas. I easily forget things. I really got to start writing them down on a calendar or something. But anyway, I'll do my best to keep it up. Keep spewing my thoughts into the shoe world out here. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Maybe you learned something. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you'll continue wearing cushion soles for the rest of your life and think that's really it. And again, comfort to a degree is subjective. But I don't think subjective is what your body needs, and that is support. So, wishing everybody a great day. Thank you as always for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.